Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I doing now? I am working on a 98 Nissan Frontier. And the customer's complaint is they've replaced the engine and they replaced the transmission, but the actual complaint is that the AC will work at first and then it'll stop working. Okay. So I started checking it out, and it turns out the computer thinks the engine temperature is too high. So it's getting into what it thinks is an overheat concern, and it's not actually overheating. But what it does is it shuts the AC down. I've already confirmed that part of it, so I'm not going to show you that. But the AC does work when the engine's cold. However, this one weird thing that I noticed, and I want you to see this. So on the scanner here, if you look, you see ECT, and it's 87 degrees. ECT's 87 degrees. This engine is ice cold. As you can see, this engine is brand new. It's a new motor, it's a new tranny. But it's ice cold. I have the connector disconnected right now for the temp sensor, and it's reading 87. With it connected, let me do that real quick and I'll explain something else. You see that's a new sensor. For some reason it's just like a super tight fit. It's showing 118. That engine's not at 118 degrees, so it hits 240 pretty quick, and it's not there. So what's going on? I don't know. I have to figure it out. So there's a reading that's incorrect somewhere. But my main point of this video is anytime you have to check voltages and grounds and stuff like that, especially for sensors, what I will always do is I'll hook up a battery charger. I have my little battery charger there right now, and it's charging the battery while I'm doing this. Also, I ran a redundant ground. See that wire? I added that wire right there to the firewall. Being as how the motor was replaced and stuff like that, engine was replaced, you never know. Something could have happened to the ground. Anything's possible. So I figured, let me just do that. But you want to have a charger on there because you don't want to get readings that are incorrect. So at least this way you know your readings are going to be what they want. So I already checked the voltage there, and it says around 5 volts is what it wants to see, and it has 4.8. Is that around 5 volts? Sure enough, it's within 0.2. So I'm going to consider that 5 volts. The other thing is they want to know about the continuity to ground for that sensor. So what they tell you to do, grab some paperwork here. What they tell you to do, so here you see, I already checked. They want to know, is it approximately 5 volts? Yes, it's at 4.8. So then they want you to check the ground circuit. Okay, let's see, turn the ignition switch off, check the harness continuity between terminal 2 and engine ground. Okay, continuity should exist. So let me turn the key off, and if it's okay, check the harness for short to ground. If okay, check harness for short to ground and short to power. I don't have that issue, but let me just show you something here real quick. I'm going to shut the key off. Yeah. I get to see my ugly mug. So let me disconnect this. This is one tight connector, let me tell you. So, you see I'm in open right now. All I'm doing is touching. Come on. I can't do it one-handed. Hold on a second. All right, so there you see 87, 86. It's showing a negative. I'm not quite sure why, but ohms. And I'm going to the black and white wire. Okay, how do I know that that's a good reading? All right, well, if I look at a wiring diagram, I can see there's the coolant temp sensor, and black and white wire is shared. So let's see, what else is in the system? Intake air temperature sensor, which is right here, conveniently. So there's the black and white wire. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. Hang on one second. All right, so what I actually did was I put back probes in there just to help, because on that one I was having an issue actually hitting the terminal with the tool, with the meter lead. Here, if you look, I back probed it in through the backside of the connector. You never want to push in through the front of the connector because you could spread out the terminals. So we got about 10. It was showing 99 before. So let's switch this to this end. And so now we're back probing that one. And we're at 101. Close enough. Close enough for what we got to do. So I know that the ground circuit, because it shares everything, I know that that leg is not messed up. So it should be good, because it's not setting any codes for any of this stuff. It did set an engine over temp or engine overheat code, but it's not overheating. So now I got to look at the power supply line going to the PCM. Like I said, I had 4.8 volts, but I got to disconnect the connector and I'm going to ohm it out. If it ohms out okay, it's more than likely a bad PCM. Something inside the PCM is not reading correct. So let me go ahead and let me go do something with that. Let me go disconnect it. So let me find the PCM. I don't even know where it is. I think it's under the dash somewhere. Let me see if I can't figure that out. Go from there. So I got the PCM disconnected under the dash. Let me just show you something. When I go out here to the power wire on the sensor and I read ohms of resistance, basically I'm checking that circuit to ground. I have nothing. If I go to voltage, I have no voltage. So that tells me that wire is not shorted to ground or shorted to voltage. So the problem's in the PCM. Now, I want to show you something real quick here with the dash. So here is the connector. And this is the wire right there. The green with the red tracer. So here's a mistake a lot of people make. When you're looking at connector pinouts, see that right there? That's the one I have to look at. But when you're looking at this, you would think it's this way, but nope. It's actually a mirror. It's a mirror image upside down. Follow? So mirror image upside down is where that is. It's over here. So basically you'd have to look at it like as if you had this image on the other side. You'd have to look at it like this. You follow? To get to the right spot. So anytime you're looking at a diagram like this, just make sure you're looking at the right thing, because I've seen too many people make that mistake. I've made that mistake plenty of times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend a PCM for this thing. Unfortunately, I looked to see if there's any corrosion or anything built up, and I don't see anything. However, what I'm going to do, since I'm underneath here, is I'm going to put this cover back on this connector. I'm going to plug this back in and just verify my readings are the same. Just in case it's a possibility I had some kind of a corrosion buildup on the connector that I just cannot see. I have seen that before, and you plug things back in, all of a sudden everything works fine again. So let me do that, let me get this hooked all back up, and then we're going to go from there. One thing I wanted to point out to you, even though this thing's a 98, you need this special adapter to go into the factory Nissan connector that's here. Even though it has the OBD connector right there, the OBD doesn't have this information that I need, believe it or not, which is weird. But Nissan, for a couple of years there, right around when OBD came into play, 96, 97, 98, 99, something like that, those years, you needed this adapter connector. Whatever. Well, let me show you. I got the PCM hooked back up. I have the sensor plugged in, and as you see, we're reading 118 degrees, and I have not even started this thing. This thing is ice cold. It's ice cold to the touch. Now, one other thing too, you may be wondering why I put a sensor in. I put a sensor in because, number one, that's usually the failure, usually. However, if you read here, do the inspection, turn ignition off, blah, 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 approximately 5 volts, okay, tells you to go down here. If okay, continuity should exist, does it? Yes, okay. Check the component, engine coolant temperature sensor. Is everything's okay? Basically, replace the coolant temperature sensor. So, you know, is it okay? Does it look okay? Yeah, it's fine. Now, here, what they want you to do is they actually want you to drop it in a thing of boiling water to measure its resistance. Who's going to go through that? Nobody. Not for an $18 sensor or $25 sensor, whatever the heck the thing costs. But nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to go through that. So anyway, that's the reason for replacing the sensor, because 99, I've actually never seen it be anything other than a sensor. I have seen worn through wiring harnesses, but I've never seen a bad computer do this, unless the coolant temperature sensor was no good and coolant wicks through the wire and gets to the computer. I've seen that, and it ruins the computer, but there's no evidence of that. So anyway, that's going to end this video. All right, well, hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching. Real quick, before some of you say, oh, you didn't ohm out the wires from the sensor to the computer. Didn't need to. The wiring, I showed that the ground was good on the ground side when I went to the other sensor. It was the same reading. So I know the ground is good. There's nothing there to worry about. When I checked the power was 4.8 volts. And the specification is around 5. 4.8 is pretty darn close to 5. So I'm not worried about that. Plus, when the computer is disconnected, I had nothing at either one. So I know the system's good. So that's the reason I didn't bother to check continuity from where the sensor was to the other end. You know, had I had like high resistance, or had I got a reading of like a ground or any voltage or anything like that at the sensor but the computer disconnected, then I'd have to start looking. But that's the reason I didn't look. So I just wanted to clear that up, because I know some of you may be confused by that. So anyway, that's it. Have a great day. Keep wrenching.